Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our May 2017 customer webinar. Today is actually May 4th, which is a date of some significance for fans of Star Wars. Anyway, this morning someone asked if I was going to start today's webinar with, "May the 4th be with you." Well, I assure you I will not, because today we have important business to conduct. Today, Rich Griffin, our Live Editions product manager, and John Winters, BLOX Total CMS product architect, will show you how the latest changes to BLOX Live Editions can help you make your multimedia print replica more lucrative and engaging than ever. We'll also discuss how you can use BLOX Total CMS, our front-end system, to simplify creation and segmentation of your Live edition. In the room, we also have Teresa Nelson, Director of Business Development, Christine Masters, Director of Product Development, and Cherry Wolf, Marketing Specialist at townnews.com. I'm Aaron Gillette, Marketing Director. The presentation will take about 30 minutes and the Q&A will follow. At any point, you can type a question into the chat box, but we'll hold off on answering them until the end. Take it away, Rich and Tim, and may the 4th be with you. Darn!
Thanks, Aaron, and good morning, everybody. Yes, I'd like to talk a little bit about e-editions here today. We have a new archiving pricing model that we're going to be rolling out for Live e-editions. With this, there are no more storage fees, which is pretty significant. We're moving it over to a per-page processing fee only model. And I mean, this is going to be pretty good for people it'll be a little bit more predictability involved for budgeting purposes, I would think, because for those that are doing quite a bit of archiving already, those storage fees would have been stacking up over time. So I'm pretty excited about this, actually. So as part of this, I wanted to touch a little bit on, last summer we rolled out some banner ad positions, and there's quite a lot of potential here, I believe, for people to pay for a lot of the cost for this page processing fees for the edition pages. BLOX Ad Manager, OAS, Google DFP, banners all work in here. There's 2 banner positions in what we call the river of news, and there's 1 pop-up position that can be served on both unsegmented pages and segmented pages, which do have the river of news. Since 2/3 of these ad positions are in the river of news, the implication being there that these pages need to be segmented for those to be served, I wanted to touch a little bit on our segmenting options. First off, I may be getting a little bit simple here, but I thought I'd talk about what a segment is in the context of an e-edition. A segment is a defined clickable area in the page. Each segment is linked directly to the content that exists in the BLOX CMS. With this online content associated with a segment, the Live edition makes it possible for the online version of the content to be displayed alongside the printed page on the Live edition user interface. Now, we have 3 levels of service for segmenting. We have what we call the self-service option, which is available to everyone, where you can go in and manually, this is depicted here on the left here, manually create your boxes and link those segments directly to assets within the BLOX CMS. We also have a full service option where you upload the pages to us the night before, we get them processed, and they come back and the segments will be automatically linked to the content that's on the page. Now there's two different options there. One of them, it extracts the content directly from the PDF and creates a new asset that is kind of just associated with the e-edition. But we also offer a way to send the last couple days worth of articles along with the page for processing, and when they extract the content, they basically look to see if those articles already exist in your CMS. And so they basically link the segment directly to the content that exists in BLOX, and so then you have the advantage of all the related content to that article being associated, and it enhances the user experience because you can show more related images that are associated with that article or videos, that type of thing. The other service level we have here is the fully automated level, which is available with our BLOX Total CMS product. And this with BLOX, when you build the pages, the segment is basically done automatically for you. And when we push the pages from Total CMS to BLOX e-edition, everything is just done automatically, and it's a very seamless process for everyone. Now, we have what we call cutout assets. And basically a cutout asset is defined by the coordinates of the area to be viewed on the page. So we define the coordinates of the box that encloses an area on the page. And then Live Edition user interface is then able to use these coordinates to display the cutout part of the page. Now, there's a possible upsell for print advertisers here that would add more values for them, in that when Total CMS sends these cutouts over to BLOX, the print ad displays basically come across with them as cutout assets. When e-edition processes these cutout assets, the links are automatically extracted, made available to the reader. In addition to that, you can also assign a parent business from the business directory listings to that cutout asset, and it can display such as depicted here in the picture. This is all can be automated with Total CMS, so your advertisers' IDs of the print display ads come across, and we can map them directly to a business directory listing to be displayed here and add value to your print subscribers' ads that they put into your paper. Now, I want to touch a little bit on current functionality in e-edition. We focused mainly up to this point on the assets that are actually visible in the page. So we'll have support for child images of articles that are linked to the article segments on the page, and we've also had the ability to put videos in there as well. And that's nice because you can have actually more images and videos that are available in the paper, and it enhances the user experience. And I'm only mentioning this because I'm going to do a little bit of a teaser. We have a new updated front end coming out here for the Live Edition interface this summer, and it is going to have a lot of interesting features. It's got better upload performance, improved navigation, more intuitive for the readers of the Live Edition, the navigation. A lot of the elements that were available in the hamburger navigation on the left are brought out and are more available to the users. We're adding more inline asset support, more automatic support for content related to article segments in the River of News, and also support for linking other asset types manually directly to support for linking other asset types directly to segments. So if you had a reference to a video or something, you could link that segment directly to a video if you wanted to. So I just want to throw that out there and let you know that there are some really substantial improvements coming to the Live Edition front-end interface. And with that, I will pass it on to John to talk a little bit about Total CMS.
Thank you, Rich. Can everybody hear me?
We can.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So what I'm going to then explain is how BLOX Total CMS can make this segmentation process for Live E-editions even easier. I'm sure there are a group of people who are not really familiar with BLOX Total CMS. It is Town News' front-end system or a print design system that's based around the BLOX interface. And it allows us to take content that is destined for web and purpose that content for print. And as changes are made on the print version, then we can update the web version with those corrections, etc. And then it also does totally automatic segmentation for Live e-edition. So on this slide, you can see a page. This would be a page built in Adobe InDesign. Information from the page is stored in a application in BLOX Total CMS called Page Tracker. And Page Tracker allows you to preview that segmentation. That's kind of the green and blue and gray boxes in the middle of that slide down at the bottom. And then that information is sent from Page Tracker to the hosted Live e-edition product. And so you can then see how in the view on the bottom right there, how there's a story in the bottom left about a former AG, and that's all that segmentation for that highlight point is coming directly from Adobe InDesign. Nobody had to do anything to get that to happen. As I like to say, it just works. So that's kind of the way the automatic part works in BLOX Total CMS. If you go to the next slide for me. I do want to mention how you get to see that segmentation. This was released several versions ago. If you're a BLOX Total CMS user and you go into Page Tracker, to preview the segmentation, you need to go to the edition view of the publication you're building, and then in the upper right-hand corner, that big orange circled area, go to that little pop-up menu, and there's a choice to choose wireframes. And this is the wireframe view, and this shows all the pages in the individual sections, and then shows the assets on those sections and other attributes to those pages. So we're going to move on down to the next slide. And one of the things that we are doing in BLOX Total CMS to make it easier for the Live e-edition user to browse and find the content that you want is we've supported for quite some time now something known as page content types in the BLOX Total CMS client. And many of the advertising systems that we're using to feed the pages, to produce pages in Adobe InDesign, they already know that, for example, the opinion page is, the second even page. So page 4, for example, might be the opinion page, and so we will then track that page in the system as being the opinion page. Well, we send that information on to Page Tracker, and if you look at those two different views in the bottom center of the slide, it may be rather small, but you can see that the one page on the left there is a government/politics page, and the second page is marked down at the very bottom as being a nation page. Well, those kinds of page content types then feed into Page Tracker. It's available in the Browse menu now, in the current version of Page Tracker, or as Rich just pointed out, this new version coming out later this summer will have these nice little content tabs. For example, you see news, metro, sports, and business. And the Live e-edition users will be able to, for example, click on the comics tab, and they'll go straight to the comics page in your Live e-edition. Or opinion, or the sports pages, etc. And so this is a really cool way then to group the pages together. And this, again, it's completely automatic. You can override it. Say, for example, the advertising group says that the local news page is going to be A6, but you have to move it to A7 for some other reason. So there's a user interface in InDesign to override that page content type. Next slide, please. So jumps is also something that we do very nicely to automate with the BLOX Total CMS interface. It's another one of these things. It just works. So here is two page views in that wireframe view. These don't have any page content types listed at the bottom, but there's two assets here that jump off of A1 onto this page A6, and the Live e-edition view will just know that they are continuations of those same stories. It just works. Next page. So, as Rich pointed out, in Live e-edition, we have support for ads, and we do, again, nice things with that. we automatically find the ads, and we can either send them as a pure cutout or we can send them as a cutout. And so I have it on here. Future versions can link to BLOX business directory. That's just because it requires a little bit of setup to convert from what the advertising system is sending BLOX Total CMS in terms of the advertiser ID. We need to make a little translation table, if you will, to go from the advertiser's ID to the business directory ID. So that's why that's listed as future. It just requires a little bit of setup. Next slide. So there are occasions that you need to limit segmentation, and the automatic segmentation that Adobe InDesign does with the BLOX Total CMS client can get a little carried away wanting to grab every little tidbit that's put on the page. So we have a couple different ways to solve that issue. One, every domain has a preferences file. Every site has this. All the BLOX Total CMS sites have this. They may not know about it, but it's there and it's doing its job. And that creates some minimum sizes. So if you just drew some little text box on the page in the rail, for example, that refers somebody else to another place in print, that would typically not be included in the segmentation because it's not a real asset and it's probably very small. We also have options to go in there and take certain pieces and exclude them. If you look on the two pictures of the page down there, the centerpiece story that says student storytellers, you can see, for example, that there is a column sig in that centerpiece. And if you look over to the right in the segmentation view, the wireframe view from Page Tracker, you can see that there's no little blue-gray X there for that column sig. And that's because that column sig doesn't serve any purpose online. The article itself has the columnist information in it, so there's no need to replicate that. So in Adobe InDesign and our BLOX Total CMS client, there's this choice here that says exclude from cutouts. And keyboard shortcuts can be assigned to those. So if there's certain things you just don't want to cut out for, select it and do exclude from cutouts, and it will be gone. Next page, please. So some other things that's coming up with supporting segmentation for Live E-Edition. We have implemented some time ago, just haven't wired in the back part of it. We now track as assets are merged on the page. So maybe, for example, you are doing some kind of roundup, and you've got lots of little stories, maybe like a brief package. Currently, what goes to Live E-Edition is the text that was really on the page, and it's the kind of combined piece. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's not great, especially if those individual pieces had their own child artwork. So coming really soon, later this year, in the BLOX Total CMS client, we're going to be able to send, at the site's request, all of the merged assets individually as opposed to forcing them to be in one stream. So this is a requested thing, and it's partly there, and the rest of it's coming this year. We also have some updates to the client, and the release notes are on BLOX Total CMS. I assume the slides will be available later on. We almost always do that, and so you'll be able to get access to those release notes for the current version of the client. And the BLOX CMS help site also has a best practices document on procedures to use to get the best segmentation. So that's the end of my part. We'll give this back to Aaron then.
Thanks, John. You are correct. This will be posted to the website probably before the week is out. We'll post the video and the slide deck for everyone to download, and we'll drop an email to the webinar list when that's available. As far as takeaways go, we learned about some new ways to earn revenue with banner ads and pop-ups. Talked about page content types and Live E-Editions, and easy ways to segment using either a variety of methods. So, but the best way by far is BLOX Total CMS.
Correct.
So now would be a good time to if you have any questions, please type them into the chat box. We do have a few questions coming in right now, so we'll start working through those. The first question, will this new version correct an issue with touchscreens running Windows 10 and iOS devices where the thumbnails do not work? It's
Absolutely.
coming in May, supposedly.
No, it's coming. The new version is coming this summer.
Okay.
We're just about to start beta testing this month. But yes, it does fix that problem.
Okay. Next question. So on the print ads, you can pull the web address out of the PDF, so you don't have to segment that anymore?
You have to. It's segmented as a cutout. It's segmented as a cutout. With Total CMS, those happen automatically. You can also segment them manually in the BLOX e-edition admin. And when you create the cutout asset, you define the box around the area that you want to be the cutout. It extracts the links out of that when that's processed.
Okay. Can you add a link onto the new version of Live E-Editions that will allow us to put puzzles from a third party in there?
Add a link.
I think add the ability to allow puzzles from third parties? Is that
so
what?
like on your comics page, you can link to like an online Flash games.
Well, with the new edition, we are providing support for child link assets, so you could do that in there, yes. And that would be a title and a hyperlink and a description that would go off to that asset page. So yeah.
Is there any navigation that you could customize, or like a link somewhere that you could add to like a menu?
Not within the interface itself, no.
The next question is specifically for John. Merged assets / auto include river of news. Does that mean we'll no longer have to do the menu option of create new article on that merged text box in order to get all the individual assets in the river of news?
That is correct, and won't that be a beautiful thing?
Okay. Two questions. First, could you tell us more about the revenue through banner ads and pop-ups?
Pop-up is a defined ad position on the e-edition skin. They can be assigned just like any other ad type in BLOX. For if you need specific details on how to set that up, you can call our customer service folks. But those, I believe, are definable to show up after so many page views, that type of thing. The pop-ups, I, in my opinion, get a little bit intrusive on readers. I like the River of News ones better for those that are doing segmentation. That's why I try to encourage that as much as possible. But it is an additional option to get a little bit more revenue out of your e-edition product.
Okay. The second part of the question is, also, could you tell us more about putting live content into the e-edition? We're using the TCMS fully automated option. By live content, I'm assuming perhaps video and stuff like that.
Correct. Well, with the new release, we're adding a lot more support for other child asset types. We're actually going to support in some version or in some manner all child asset types of an article asset, and those will be available in the River of News automatically. We also have the ability in the article admin to drag assets directly into the article, and those will be displayed the same in that manner as well within the River of News. So you could, for example, put a video at the top of your article or somewhere within the article, wherever is appropriate, and that kind of stuff with images and that kind of thing as well. So yeah, with Total CMS, having that direct connection into the editorial system, you're going to have any related content is going to manifest itself in some way, shape, or form within the River of News.
Okay. If we're looking to move to live e-editions and want to go live with the new interface, what kind of timing should we plan for? How long would it take to launch?
If you're looking to launch on live e-editions, is there any indication as to which, whether it's Total CMS or just doing any segmenting or any of that kind of thing? I guess I'll cover them all. It's a pretty quick setup. I mean, there are some details about how you have to provide your
TCMS, BLOX Total CMS. He
okay,
got on
okay.
it. Yeah.
Well, I guess this is kind of a John and a question for me and a question for John. It's pretty quick to set up the interface to accept additions that are coming from Total CMS. There's a few little things you have to set up. It takes a few minutes. I kind of believe like there are some things you need to know about building pages that work best with Total CMS, and John referenced that there's some documentation on best practices for building pages with live editions. John, did you have anything you wanted to add to that as far as what it takes to get people up and running from that side of things?
Sure. So in the browser-based interface for BLOX Total CMS, there's some preferences that we turn on. There's a job that we create, and if you have lots of publications that you're building off of your appliance, then we need to find out whether or not you want all of them to go to different live editions and how all that is set up. So there's some configuration there. And then your output preferences XML file that provides you with the interface to use BLOX Total CMS documents output, blah, blah, blah. We need to change those blah, blah, blah methods so that they also send the right information to Page Tracker. And basically that can be done way in advance of your live edition going live. You just need to let customer service know, and then we'll get somebody to add the changes to your output preferences, and then you can be checking the segments in that wireframe view in Page Tracker, and then when you are done kind of testing out on a live edition test site, if you will, then the switch can be thrown on Rich's end, and you can be live with that. Again, start with customer service, and we'll be glad to get you those changes. Now, the other part of the question, as I heard it, is they were interested in when the new interface was going to be available. So, Rich, you might have more exact of a timeline there for him.
Yeah, I mean, we're just getting ready to start beta testing this month, so that's always a little bit of a fluid situation, but I would think, definitely commit to sometime this summer for it to come out, and hopefully sooner than later.
So what I would recommend is go ahead and have that site, contact customer service, and we'll get Adobe InDesign feeding all that information, and so that the switch can be thrown when it needs to be thrown.
Okay. If you use BLOX Total CMS, does the River of News show the web-optimized article or a version that came from print? We sometimes add videos and lots of extra photos to the web, but they're not in the print version.
So if it is linked directly to the article asset in the CMS, they will be available there. Yes.
So you could do that so it'll show the web version and show all your videos and photos and stuff, but you don't actually have to do any extra work to add in the videos.
Absolutely.
That's something
They'll
I think
just
we should
start showing
clarify.
up.
Yeah, because it's not like you have to add an extra step to put the video in there. It just it naturally shows up because you put it on the web. So all the extra.
Yeah, and if you're dragging them in line and making it a little bit special that way, then that gets reflected there as well. So it's really nice.
Without any extra steps for you.
Exactly. So you're getting an enhanced version of the print product.
And that's why it's called the live edition, because if there's new breaking news that's associated with that article, or an update to that article, or additional photos that you did as part of making that change in your online version, then that's automatically reflected in the print version or in the e-edition version with no additional work.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
I want to add one more part to that. So in Live e-edition, the preview of the pages is indeed a copy of the print preview, but then as you go to the River News and then read the story, then just like Rich and Christine was talking about, you're looking at the web version of the article. And we have had, I think, a grand total of one of our sites decide that rather than displaying the web title, they wanted to display the print title, and there are some things you can do in BLOX Total CMS to change the right back so it goes to the other field.
And one note on that is e-edition has always been a replica product. There is still a page view. There's still a a lot of people still like to just page through the paper and read that as well. And that's still an option going forward. It has always been an option to just have that page view of the article so you can read it directly on the page.
So it's the best of both worlds. You get the precise print replica, but then you can have all of the enhanced information that's available online on there. So
Yeah, I've actually seen a situation where it was about, I can't remember, something about just somebody raising money, and the print article had said it was $300,000 raised, but by the time the online version was reflected, they had an update that it was over $2 million or something by that time. So, I mean, that's a really nice way to be able to have some of the updated qualities of the online version that you can update over time, but then also the
sort of
layout,
archival,
the archival quality of
right.
the print. Yeah, exactly.
And another nice thing about it is you're promoting the rest of your website within the edition. So it's like a window into your website, and you can that's generally with blocks. We're going from e-edition to the business directory, going to the editorial content, and it's a way to cross promote all your different elements of your business model there, right within e-edition.
Good stuff.
Next question. Is this a possible replacement for papers that drop some days of print publication? In other words, can the live edition in some cases fill in if you're dropping days?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not going to print a day, you can make it available to your print customers. We've even had some people that are giving away tablets to their subscribers for that very purpose. So they'll be able to go online and then read it on the days that they aren't printing. And it's a good option for when emergencies happen, your printing presses are down as well, to get people access to your content when you're not able to print it.
And actually, just one quick follow-up on that, there is a way assuming that you have like a subscription into your e-edition, we have kind of an emergency toggle that you could make your e-edition free for that day without having to turn off any services or anything. There's just a button there that says, there was a storm, and people are having trouble getting their papers, or the paper's late, and you can just make it free for that day.
And the nice thing about that is people can still subscribe to it
Yes.
while it's disabled, which is useful.
Yes.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Okay. Will the new Live edition interface provide page thumbnails on mobile-sized screens?
Yes. They actually display at the bottom, and there's a little tab at the bottom that you can click on to pop it up and see it, and you can scroll through the pages, and you'll have the section menus there as well. It's really nice.
He added please, which I did not read initially, but it sounds like he will be pleased.
Yeah. Like a really
Yes.
big voice. Just make that.
You stole my thumb.
Yeah.
Let me interject as well, and if you turn your phone landscape, then those little thumbnails are on the left automatically. At least it was when I last looked at it.
For the current version.
Yeah, I don't know. It's still in development, so it could just be.
Could be at the bottom.
For the new version.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I think that might be a bug, but okay.
I liked it.
I think the main thing to take away from that is just the fact that there's a lot of things that were really difficult for us to change in the current version because of a lot of kind of plugins and things that we're using in order to make things mobile friendly, and we're using kind of some new technology in this new version that will fix some of the IE thing that somebody mentioned. It's been a lot easier for us to use new technology in order to have kind of the most modern interface possible. So we're able to make a lot of improvements and make it very mobile friendly.
Yep. Device support is going to be incredibly better, and it allows us to do a lot more things functionally, which we plan on. There's a lot of more things to come as well.
Okay. Is there anyone currently using the option to feed ads from advertisers with the link back to BLOX Business Directory?
Could you repeat that one more time for me, please?
Is there anyone currently using the option to feed ads from advertisers with the link back to BLOX Business Directory? So the linking
the
of...
cutouts.
I know that there's people that are working on setting that up, but I'm not sure if there's anyone live with it yet. I Are you aware of anyone that's live with it yet, John?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Well, I mean, and you can do it manually too. If you just want to go in there and add a parent business to a cutout, you can do that as well, and it'll work that way too. But yeah, for that there's a little bit of mapping that you have to set up from auxiliary IDs, which are the advertiser IDs, to the business directory listings. But once that's set up, it's automated. So.
Okay. A follow-up second part to that question. Do the banner ads in the stream work with third-party services like DFP, or do we have to use I think she means ad manager.
Oh, they work with DFP and OAS as well as the ad manager positions.
Next question. Can you back up and show the banner possibilities for the non-segmented Live edition? I was 3 minutes late to the presentation.
Yeah, I didn't have really a lot in the presentation. There's basically a single ad position, which is a pop-up position that can be set up for the non-segmented pages. If you need some help getting that set up, feel free to call customer service and then get it going for you.
Does the live content work with third-party video providers like Inform, or do we need to use BLOX assets in order for that to work?
Out of the box, we're supporting YouTube and BLOX. There's an HTML asset that'll show up there. That's usually a little bit hit and miss, but you can try it, and it's very possible that it'll work. Especially now that we're not using all those plugins that make things a little bit less tolerant of those type of things. So I would think positively towards that, yes.
Yeah, I mean, for NDN specifically, since that's not an asset that's kind of added to the page itself, to the template itself, we could look at that as a feature request. The only thing that I'd be concerned about is that
they scrape the page, though, don't
yes,
they?
it's contextual.
Right.
So I don't know if they would they might look at everything on that page, and then you'd have half minors trapped in a hole and half.
It would hard to get it
budget cuts or
contextually
something.
into a single
Yeah.
article in the River News.
We have to make sure that we could somehow pass it like a URL that they would be able to scrape or something. So we could look into that more, but there are some possible issues with that.
Okay. Someone on the call actually weighed in on how long it takes to move over to Live editions, and this is a customer, and he said, who's gone through it, and he said the actual cut over to Live edition depends on how the site wants to take it on. I've done some sites in as little as 3 days. Others have taken several months. Part of it is how much QA the site wants to do on its e-editions, and part is how large the staff and the print product itself are. So anyway, thank you very much for that input. When you change to no archiving fees, will the cost per page go up?
They will. There is an increase in the per page processing rate. But at this point, I mean, it just seemed to be a shame to pay to have all those pages processed in the past and throw them away after a certain period of time. But yeah, there does have to be a bump in the processing price to cover our costs for the storage and the lack of or for our storage and for the lack of storage income that has been coming from it. But part of the reason I talked about the ads is there's ways to offset some of that cost, and even with Total CMS, I think you can get pretty close to covering your cost if most of your pages are segmented.
And for more information on pricing, contact your salesperson.
Sure, absolutely.
Speaking of pricing, with the new e-edition pricing model, will segmented and straight PDF processing fees differ?
Will segmented and straight PDF processing fees? There are different rates for the full service segmenting, because there's a lot of manual work in that. That's a bit higher. The self-service and the Total CMS rates are comparable, because Total CMS basically does the segmenting work for you.
Okay. Let me see. Sorry, I lost my place here. Someone weighing in on an earlier comment said, They had a publication that had printing issues on Saturday, and they made the e-edition available to everyone for free. So that goes back to what you were saying, Christine.
It's a nice thing to be able to, you'll have people writing in and calling in and, you know, I need my news, and then it's a nice thing to be able to say, and then it introduces them to the e-edition that they might not have already been, you know, introduced to.
Yeah. Make a digital user out of them.
And just one more really quick thing that they asked about the banner ad spots. I did look on if you go to our help.blockcms.com site, and if you just do a search I searched for ad spot e-edition or ad spot edition, there's a doc in there that has the names of the positions and you know, how you can add those to so there's some good documentation in there if you want to know the specific names.
Thank you. A question about cutouts. When a story wraps around an ad, the story frame covers the ad frame. This can be fixed by hand. They're fixing it by hand, but they're wondering if any of the new features are going to do anything to enhance that automatically.
Is that?
Is this
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rich.
I was wondering if that was a total CMS question or a BLOX question.
I believe it's a total
Yeah,
CMS.
I am too, because if it's a total CMS question, I want to see the page so that I can figure out if there is something I can do about it. I wasn't aware that we had any issues with that, because there's a whole set of rules that go on and determine the order of the segments to prevent that from happening
John, this is
when it comes from BLOX Total CMS.
Yeah, I think that they try to make sure that the smaller segment, if there's two conflicts between segments, the smaller one will be on top, so that you're still able to click on the small one in general. And like John said, there's some additional rules in there as well.
Yeah. There might be some things that we can do with ordering to make, so for example, if you've got a article that wraps around an image and the image is segmented separately, if that image is on top of the larger image, then you can click on everywhere in the story and you can click on that image.
Right.
Oftentimes that image is actually part of that article as a child, and
then
they all click on the same thing.
Right.
But if there's some issues with that, we can look at it, and there might be something that we can do with ordering.
But yeah, just submit a ticket, because that should be something that's taken care of with our logic. So
Correct.
let us know an example of that, and we can see what your workflow is and, you know, how that's working.
Great. Well, thank you very much. That is all for the questions. If you do have anything you'd like to ask, feel free to type it into the chat box while I go through our final spiel here. Thank you, everyone, for a lively discussion. That was a great back and forth. Good job, Rich and John. If you have any questions about BLOX Live E-Editions or BLOX Total CMS, please feel free to contact your sales representative, and they can help you out with that. For documentation, as Christine said, help.blockcms.com is a great resource. Go check it out. For support, call 800-293-9576 or visit support.townnews.com. The partner community is a great way to share ideas and learn from other users, and you can check that out at community.townnews.com. And we recently, a few months ago, launched a service status page that tells you what's going on with all of our systems, and you can actually subscribe to that at townnews.status.io. And of course, you can follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. We also offer a number of email communiques that you can sign up for by visiting our website, clicking News, and entering your email address in the Stay Connected box on the right-hand side of the page. We did have one more comment come in. It says, Town News rocks, which thank you very much. We appreciate that very much.
Thanks, Mom.
Yes. So with that, I mean, I can't think of a better way to end the presentation. With that, we will end this, and we will talk to you guys again next month. Thank you very much to everyone for attending and participating.